Welcome back to Fourhim2013's channel. Right back at you with a live stream. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit more down to earth. All right. So I said before that we was going to start doing live streams and stuff, like motivational live streams. So today we're going to be talking about this topic right here. See that word? It says accountability. Okay. So today we're going to be just talking very briefly about what it means. What does accountability mean? What does all of that entail? And what are some things to do to help us hold each other more accountable for different things and stuff? And why is accountability important? So if you guys are watching, I want you all to go ahead and click in the comments and just let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions about what it means to be held accountable, or if you guys have any feedback. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, then that's fine. That's fine too. But at the end of the day, guys, this is simply just my opinion and what I believe. Now, you find at the end of the day, what works for you. So today we're going to be talking about three topics. Okay. Topic number one is setting goals. And also you can see that I highlighted in parentheses realistic goals. Sometimes there is a such thing, and the reason the word realistic exists is because people can set unrealistic goals, right? And so what does that mean? Setting unrealistic goals is a goal that you would almost have to stress so much over, almost pull your hair out. At the same time, it seems like it's like this. Hey, my goal is to swim the Atlantic Ocean right now. It's okay. That's fine. That's great that you want to swim the Atlantic Ocean, but I've always told anything is possible. The sky's the limit, right? But swimming the Atlantic Ocean in your current state, there's a lot of Olympic medalists who, they train their whole lives for something like this, and you're talking about you just woke up one day saying, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and just swim the Atlantic Ocean. Well, to me, that's kind of a unrealistic goal, right? Because you haven't actually prepared yourself for that goal. Again, there are Olympic gold medalists who train day and night, who train for 16-20 hours a day, 7 days a week for these kinds of things, right? If an Olympic gold medalist who has been training for 30 years, right? He's never entered into an Olympic. He's been training for 30 years, 20 hours a day, just like CrossFit, just overall making sure his body and everything is just perfectly prepared for swimming across the Atlantic Ocean. Well, guess what? 30 years later of the kind of training, intense training he's doing will in fact prepare him to swim the Atlantic Ocean, right? So he can wake up, and say, okay, cool, I'm going to swim the Atlantic Ocean today. We're going to do it. Today is the day we're going to do it. Why? Because for 29 years, 23 hours and 59 seconds, he's prepared to swim the Atlantic Ocean. So he can 30 years later get up and make that decision and say, I'm going to swim the Atlantic Ocean, right? Because that goal is a little bit more realistic to him, because he has swum in the longest a meter, as far as swimming the longest lengths of water. He's done this for 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for the past 30 years, right? He's done that. So that's more of a realistic goal to him. But to somebody who just haven't prepared, who haven't done any of the training, who haven't really done their research and prepared their bodies for it, they get up and say, I'm going to swim the Atlantic Ocean. Well, you're listen, man, I know everything is possible, but do you think that is a possibility that we can be a little presumptuous here? Like, thinking that it's just gonna work out just because we say it's gonna work out, right? There is a such thing as planning, and at the end of the day, you haven't held yourself accountable, right, to do those things to help prepare you to get to this moment. So, setting realistic goals, okay? Set before yourself a realistic goal, something that is achievable, and that with just a little bit of time and effort, you can achieve that goal, right? So, some goals that I set for myself, okay? And I'm making this more personal because, listen, I get up there, I hear like a lot of different motivational speakers, people who are like in their 40s and 50s, who've wrote their books and everything already, who pretty much have their life together. That's great. I'm happy for them. As a matter of fact, I listen to a couple of speakers myself, people who I would actually refer you guys to listen to. One is Rachel Hollis, right? On basically, she's talking about chasing your dreams and getting out your comfort zone. Again, the name is Rachel Hollis. And the other person is she's actually, I think she's come out with the TV show already. If not, she's coming out with one. But her name is Mel Robbins, right? She wrote the book on the 5-second rule. Great book. You guys have to read it. It's really good. And then another guy, you guys may know of him. Well, actually, it's two other guys too. One is named Eric Thomas, right? He calls himself E.T. the Project Preacher on YouTube. Go ahead and look him up. The amount of passion that he puts out there for achieving your goals and getting up and handling your business, waking up, getting out your comfort zone. Another guy, he's an older guy. His name is Les Brown. You guys might have heard of him too. But these are all great motivational speakers. And I'm happy, they've got their life together. They got it figured out, right? They've wrote their books and they've traveled the country and stuff like that. And to us, that's great motivation. Now, I'm here to sort of present a more. This is how I would look at it. Those guys that I listen to, they're like, I live in a townhome. These guys like live in a mansion. So I got to go through the security clearance. I got to go through this. I got to go through that just to maybe get like a one-on-one with them or something like that. It's so much you got to go through to even just like get like a more realistic, down-to-earth one-on-one conversation with them. To me, I'm more so I need like a down-the-street kind of guy who I see him first buying his house and I see him just fixing his credit and everything. People that I can kind of like keep a realistic tabs on. Say, okay, cool, wow, I remember that guy's, credit was like horrible and all this other stuff. And I see him, he get his first car, he get this, I see him getting his first house and stuff. I remember when he was renting the house, now he's buying the house, stuff like that. So I say that to say that I want to set I want to put a realistic matter in front of you guys. Right now, one of my goals is to become financially free, right? And you guys might have heard of that term, financial freedom, and that is where you're bringing in so much income where you don't actually have to work a corporate 9-to-5 job, 8 to 4, whatever schedule you're working, or those really odd hours. You don't have to work for somebody else and make somebody else rich, because at the end of the day, guess what? Let's say you're a top-notch engineer, right? Making $80,000-$90,000 a year. Okay. Actually, top-notch engineers make more than that. Let's just say $130,000 a year. You're working for this big-time corporation. At the end of the day, you are on their schedule, and you are making the person above you rich. Even richer, right? Just because you are there, just because what you do is top-notch quality work, you're making the other person look good. It doesn't. You can get all of the certificates and everything. At the end of the day, the company is going to get the most recognition. I mean, that's just how it is. But you may say, well, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, as long as I'm making $130,000 a year, $130,000 a year, and I support my family, all that other stuff. But you get to a certain point where it's like you want to work for yourself. You want to make your own schedule. You want to say, I'm taking today off, right? And the only other person that you got to answer to is yourself, right? You know how much money you're going to bring in. You know how much money you need. You know how much, money that requires you to do whatever it is that you have to do to pay your bills, etc. So you're like, I think I'm going to go ahead and take a 4-day vacation. I'll be back 3 days and, and really plow it out, get the money, take another 4-day vacation or whatever. It's a beautiful thing to kind of have that mindset, because guess what? It pushes you to greater heights than if you're in a normal routine working a corporate 9-to-5 job, right? Because that's exactly what it is. You're just on routine. So if you're working for yourself, you're constantly growing, you're constantly pushing yourself, you're constantly exploring new heights, right? So with that being said, set some realistic goals for yourself. Let's say, for example, goal number 1, we talked about financial freedom. Okay, what does that entail? Financial freedom. Just think about that for a second. Financial freedom. You hear people talk about it a lot, but like, what does that actually mean, right? Financial freedom is one. What does that entail? In financial freedom, you have to be, as odd as it may sound, you have to be very cautious of your spending habits, right? You have to be very cautious of your spending habits. You have to be very cautious of what goes in, what comes out, those kinds of things. So you have to be very temperamented in how you spend and different things like that, right? Now, listen, a lot of people out there, and I heard this from someone a long time ago. They said most Americans are living beyond their means, meaning your means, right, is $2,000 a month. Let's just give a number, right, for people who are making 10, 11, 12, up to $16 an hour, right? You're making roughly $2,000, $2,500, let's say $2,500 a month, right? You living beyond your means, meaning what you have going out is about roughly $3,000 worth of just expenses, and you only make $2,500 a month. So that's living beyond your means. You're living beyond what you can afford. Financial freedom, to achieve that, means that you have to cut down on that $500 that you're spending, whatever it is that's putting you over budget. I understand people like to say, I want to live life on edge. That's great. That's cool. Live life to the fullest, but live it the smart way, right? Somebody's always told me when I was younger, work smart, not hard, right? Work smart, not hard. Okay. Don't bring unnecessary stress upon yourself that doesn't need to be brought upon yourself. So that's a realistic goal, right? People like to have the new things. Unfortunately, America today has thrown ads, has thrown materialistic things in people's faces, right? And a lot of these companies know that people can't afford this stuff. How in the world you're gonna give a $10,000? Okay, going to school. Let's talk about professions, right? Not to get off the subject, but how in the world a person who doesn't have a job, they want to go to school, get an education, right? To ultimately work for a big time business and ultimately maybe work for themselves, right? They want to work for themselves. You got this big time corporation, right? You that you want to hopefully work for, but you got to go to school. You got to get the degree. Okay. You are going to school and you're racking up $60,000, $80,000, $100,000, $200,000 in debt. How in the world does the government expect you being an amateur coming out of college to pay that back. You're going to be paying that back for the rest of your life. To me, college education is a little bit, in gamers' terms, overpowered. It's just overly expensive. Yeah, I know the amount of work that goes into it and everything. But you got to think about it, right? Over in other countries, school is free. Over in Afghan, engineering, all of that stuff, free. They go to school. Over in France, a lot of the schooling free. It's like, why are you gonna charge your citizens to go to school? And now the government is in so much debt because a lot of people aren't paying back their loans because they can't afford to pay back loans, right? So you go into school, rack up $80,000 in debt, to which I am a personal example, right? I went to school for graphic design, and back in 2009 to 2013, 14, I went to school for graphic design, advertising, right? Granted, now I'm sort of like working my own business rather than working for like an actual corporation. Yes, it does take longer because you got to like figure out highs and lows and your ins and outs and what works for you and stuff. It's a little bit harder than just get into some corporation and give you a schedule and you're like, okay, cool, I'm making $30,000 a year. Sweet. So I went to school for graphic design, racked up almost $90,000 in debt. Can you believe that? For art, for a bachelor's degree, almost $90,000 a year. And you know what? The school closed. The school closed down. So here it is. I'm out here, and believe it or not, I actually have been trying to like look for a job, and in the field, but at the same time just working, the business in my field of study, try to make some money. But even then, even if I do get, let's say, I don't know, a decent paying graphic design job, making $40,000 a year, my loans is still double that amount. Right? So, with that being said, set yourself some realistic goals in life. Things that you're gonna definitely hold you. Hey, if your budget is $2,000 a month, simply don't go over budget. That's accountability at best. That is accountability at best. Is not going over budget, right? You know your budget is X amount. Don't go over it. Sure, you may want those new pair of shoes. You want that nice car. You want this nice outfit, to please this person, please that person, to stay up to date with all of the new different things in life that, people are, in style with. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I've seen some people out there who they don't have up-to-date things, but I'm going to tell you something. They happy. They are not living over budget. And they are handling their business, and I'm seeing them constantly grow. And you know what? I know a guy. He used to, when I was in school, back in high school years ago, he for the whole 4 years, he wore the same shoes. He has a little toothbrush. He kept it clean and everything. People would talk about him and stuff like that. And, and you see all these other people buying new shoes. Oh, yeah, I just got the new Nikes, the new Jordans, every year or whatever, every year, next year. Oh, yeah, I just got the new 20, whatever, Jordans or Nikes or Timbs or whatever. New clothes, whatever style was out that year, they got it. And this guy, I was watching him. I was paying attention to him. And that's what sort of like when I was in high school, that's what sort of prompted me to actually start like selling candy. I was selling transportation fare. I used to work in an office, so I get like a good amount of transportation for free because I was working like for my high school at the time. And even then, since I can remember, I've always been working. So that's one thing. So that's one thing I can say, that if you can find a job as early as possible, even to my parents out there, teach your kids about work ethic as early as they can possibly learn. Do it. because it disciplines them. It really does. It teaches them a level of independence. It teaches them, again, a level of, what's that word? Here it is, accountability, okay? Teaches them accountability. Hold themselves accountable. They can't go out and spend all willy-nilly. If parents are just constantly giving them allowance to do whatever, not putting it in a savings account or anything, there's no accountability there. People just go out and just buy all willy-nilly. There's no level of discipline, no level of true independency, because now you just, as much as you want to give your child everything that they call for, you're not really teaching them how to be independent. You're teaching them to depend on you as a parent, which is, if you're a parent who likes that, at some point it's going to get rough. It's going to get rough, right? But trust me when I say this, it'd be less stressful if you just let them, do as they want to. It'd be less stressful if you teach them how to be independent and disciplined and hold themselves accountable. But so there was this guy in school all 4 years. Talked about this kid like a dog. Came the last 2 years of high school, they really talked about this dude. Really talked about this guy. And we were going on prom, right? And the girl he was taking out, she was gorgeous woman. And it was wondering, why is this girl going out with this guy? Like he his clothes didn't look bad. He kept them clean. Right? His shoes didn't look bad. He kept them clean. The problem was he wasn't constantly buying the whatever material attire that came out that year. He wasn't doing that. He would keep his stuff clean, wear it the same year. Right? And he had, he had plenty of clothes and everything. But came prom. Okay? Everybody was like, man, so-and-so, he's gonna drive up in like some putt or whatever. They was really, and I'm sitting up there thinking, like, I don't know. Like, his woman, she's beautiful and she's a faithful woman. She's loyal to him. And I'm like, no, I don't know, something about this guy. And I paid attention to this dude all through the years. Granted, I think sophomore year I started actually selling, because I'm like, you know what, man, maybe this dude is saving up money. And that's a thought that I had. I said, maybe this guy's saving up money. And I started, selling and buying my own clothes when I was in high school, right? I no longer depended upon my parent. I started buying my own clothes. I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to start buying my own clothes. I was selling, getting, and it was teaching me discipline. It was teaching me how to spend my money. That I couldn't just go out and spend my money all willy-nilly. Why? Because I needed clothes. I needed this. I was doing this. I was working with people. So it required me to stay focused, organized, again, hold myself accountable. So, and of course, that's like going into the next one, which is being more focused, right? So after setting these realistic goals on what you want to be, as an example, financial freedom or whatever, maybe you want to get a better job, right? Maybe you want, so after setting these realistic goals, it helps you to become more focused and zero in on the things that you actually want. It helps you to not just focus anywhere. You say, I want to search for graphic design jobs because I do graphic design, I advertise. And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be searching for graphic design jobs and anything that's sort of like related to that field. So you're not searching for desk job, filer, school job, this and that or whatever. You're searching for things that's relative to being a designer or advertiser, whatever you are, engineer, whatever the case may be. So you're becoming more focused and setting your goals for those different things. So with that being said, the guy came up, he rode up, and I guess it was like the latest Corvette prom, and people was like, whoa, and this dude like stepped out, and his attire wasn't like all diamonds and stuff like that. It was plain, it was nice, it matched, it was great. It was, if I can say it was beautiful, right? It was, if I can say that his attire was a woman, he had a gorgeous attire. It was great. It looked, and people was like, whoa, and everybody wanted to be his friends. And he was like, nah, Nah, you guys was talking about me all 4 years. You didn't know what I was doing. You didn't know what I was doing. And thankfully, I wasn't talking about him, so I was able to come up to him and be like, "Hey, what's your secret, man? Like, come on, what's your secret?" He said, "Dude, I was like, working for the school," because he was doing like some kind of work for the school. I wasn't sure exactly what he was doing. But he said every time he got paid, he saved it up. Every single time he got paid for those 4 years, he saved up. And he said, I think the Corvette at the time, I think it was like $20-some thousand or whatever. And this man, I kid you not, guys, he told me, he's like, look, he said, he showed me his bank account. I said, oh, wow. He said he's got $7,000 in there. I said, wow, how much is the Corvette? He's like, oh, it was like 20-some thousand. I said, wow. I said, did you like, finance that? Because I heard like that in like economic class, like you financed it and stuff like that. He was like, he said, no, I just dropped 20,000 cash on it. I said, what? And he was like, yeah, I saved up all through the years I got paid, and he said he was doing like other stuff like on the side, like with his parents and everything. And I said, man, that is discipline. That is discipline. He said, hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? What's up? Thanks for joining the live stream, man. Wait, hold up. He said, are you black? Yeah, I'm black, man. African American. I have Blackfoot Native American mix too, so. Hey, but thanks for joining the live stream. Hope you enjoy it. It says, your blood or... Hold on, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm far away from my thing. You smoke the marijuana cigarettes? No, I don't smoke, man. I don't smoke. I very disciplined in my health. Hence, I have a protein shake here. It's pretty much all I do. Plus, my line of profession doesn't allow me to. Oh, sweet. No, that's no problem, man. That's no problem, man. Hey, if you want to sit and like finish enjoying the stream, I was like just telling a story on a guy who was basically like saving money. And so basically, I asked this guy, and I was like, man, wow, that's discipline, that you like saving up all your money and doing this kind. He said, listen, I may not be up to date with like all of the cool things and stuff that, people have. I may not be up to date with the new shoes, the new this, the new Jordans, whatever, he saved up all of his money through all 4 years and bought himself a Corvette. And I was like, man, I want to be disciplined just like that. I want to be so disciplined just like that when it comes to holding myself accountable. So with that being said, because I don't want to like hold you guys up, and I know, time is a matter. But so we got 3 things that we're talking about here for you guys who are just joining the stream. We're talking about accountability. First thing we went over was setting goals, realistic goals for yourself. Second thing is becoming more focused. The last thing that we're going to talk about is what things are you accountable for? What things are you holding yourself accountable for? Right? Going back to, let's say, financial freedom. You want to be financially free. You have to be disciplined in your spending habits. We gave the example earlier within the stream. We said if your budget is $2,000 a month, meaning that is what your gross income is. Do not spend over $2,000 a month. A lot of people nowadays are living beyond their means. And as hard as that may be, it's a matter of discipline, and it's a matter if you truly want to become financially free, right? If you have debts and stuff that you're paying off, there's a thing such as called the snowball effect, right? You pay off one debt, and the money that you are using to pay off that debt, you start to do the snowball effect. You roll it over, you pay off another debt, and eventually you're out of debt, right? And that's the first steps of becoming financially free. The other one was, we talked about in the beginning of the live stream, is ultimately becoming like more disciplined, right? And choosing a path. Maybe you want to no longer work for a corporation, a 9-to-5 job, but you want to work for yourself. For instance, I have a graphic design business, right? It's slow and steady. It's starting up. I'm getting my things together. It's a lot harder, right? Because you have to do the paperwork. You have to get out there. You have to search. You have to get out there and find the people and find out like what works best for your business. Get out there and get the clients. You have to get up in the morning. You have to become more disciplined as opposed to if you work in like a 9-to-5 corporation, a corporate job. Right, they give you a schedule. Okay, be to work at 9 o'clock and you can leave at 5. You get to work, they give you a schedule, what to do. You just do it. You clock out 5 o'clock, you go home. That's it. That's just your routine for the next however many years. If you plan on retiring, you may be working there for the next 25, 27 years, right? But if you decide to work for yourself, you have to be more disciplined. That means you have to get up on time. If you want to make that paycheck, you have to really, really, really work for it. You have to really, really work for it. If you really want to make that paycheck, you got to get out there. You got to talk to those clients. You got to be social. You got to have a game plan. When you go to work, there's a 50% chance you have to have a game plan because the other 50% chance is already made out for you. You go to work, they give you a list of things to do. You do it. You go home. That's half the battle right there. The other half is simply you getting up and showing up to work and actually doing your job, right? The other half is made out for you. You already have a schedule coming in. So you don't have to worry about, okay, who do I talk to? Okay, I got to talk to this person. I got to talk to that person. What do I do? Right? And we're talking about accountability here. Why is accountability important to me, to you? Why is that important? Right? Accountability is important because you cannot do whatever you want to do, right? If you have a certain goal in mind, setting realistic goals. Let's say you want to get a better paying job. You want to work for a corporation. That's your dream. You want to work for a good corporation. That's cool. Now, what does that entail? That means that your prior jobs, you got to do top-notch work. That means you can't be like the typical people on your job complaining about your job because of this person's not working. Listen, that's their battle. That's their struggle. You just worry about what you got to do, right? You do your job, you handle your business, and eventually your managers will recognize you, right? And when you decide to leave and go to a better paying job, guess what? You got that recommendation letter. Most people, when they go into different jobs, they don't think that far ahead. Hey, I'm going to work this job because my goal is on that corporation right up over there. That $1 billion corporation is up over there where I'm going to be making $100,000 a year. I'm going to be making 6 figures, right? And you have that goal in mind. So now you become disciplined because you're like, okay, that entails for me to get letters of recommendation. I need to get myself recommended to the point where I can be working a job making 6 figures a year. Listen, nobody is gonna hire nobody who complains about their job all the time. If you're like everybody, well, the manager and so and so. Listen, you're gonna see that wherever you go. So you might as well get that out of your head. You're gonna see it wherever you go. Granted, there are some corporations out there. There's very few of them, rare corporations where everybody is pretty solid, right? You don't hear any complaints. Nobody complains about nothing. Very rare, very hard to find. But that's a battle that you have to face. You go into a job, okay, there's always going to be somebody complaining. Okay, let's just get that straight. It's always going to be somebody complaining. It's always going to be somebody who's not going to like you. There's always going to be that manager that's going to give you a hard time. And there's always going to be that person that's going to be optimistic and pump you up and say, yeah, you can do it, man. You can do it. I believe in you. So let's just get that straight. Going into different corporations, you're going to find either one of those few. Those few. Somebody that's not going to like you. Somebody that's going to be complaining about the job. Oh, somebody that's not doing their job. A manager who's giving you a hard time, and somebody who's there to be positive and to pump you up and to encourage you. You're going to find one of those 5 things in every corporation. So let's keep that in mind. So you go into this job, you might be, to your amazement, you might be surprised that you may not find any. And if you don't, that's one of those rare places that you find in life, in the corporate field, where you don't find any of those. Except, of course, you may find people who pump you up and encourage you, and those are the fastest growing jobs. If you have people like that on your job all the time, then yeah, you're gonna perform better. But despite, even if you don't find that, you still have to perform your best. You still have to go in there with a smile on your face. You're holding yourself accountable because you're looking at that $100,000 job, right? You're looking at that $100,000 job. So you go in there, you work your butt off, you work your tail off, and you just keep on going. You just keep on going, keep on going. Then finally, manager says, man, I really like your work. I want to move you up over here, move you to manager position, all this other stuff. And, you may talk to the manager and they're like, what are your goals for this company? Well, sir, honestly, I'm looking to really make a whole lot of money. But, while I'm here, I would like to work my best, work my hardest with a smile on my face and come in and do what I'm asked to do. And if in any shape, form, or fashion that I can kind of help improve the company that I'm able to, then I'll be willing to do that. And that manager trust me, they already got a recommendation going on in their mind. They got their eyes set on you. Some managers may actually give you a hard time, and I've seen those happen. Some managers may actually give you a hard time because they see potential in you. Hey, Mr. Patterson, you need to go ahead and put those boxes up. But sir, I have 6 boxes. Well, go ahead and do 8 boxes now. It's like, wait, but that person is only doing 3. Yeah, I don't care what that person is, so I want you to do 8. And they see that you can do 8 boxes. They see that you can do 8 pallets. So if you work in a warehouse job, or maybe you can file faster than what you're doing. Maybe you can move faster than what you're doing or whatever. And they may give you a hard time because they see potential in you. You may not see that potential in yourself, but eventually you will start to see where they're coming from. And you're going to be looking back and say, man, wow, he really saw some potential in me. I didn't think I can move this fast. I didn't think I can really, honestly, I worked for some jobs where it seemed like people were hard on me, and I was like, wow, to my amazement, after being there for so long, I was like, man, you really was looking out for me. He was making sure I didn't underperform, that I performed at my best. Because guess what? Now that I finally made my way after a few years, made my way to that 6-figure job, people will be able to say, oh, I see why you're here. Look at your rap sheet, you got a list of recommendations, great work, top notch, quality person, organized, focused, right? All because you started out with accountability, right? When a person is not accountable, then you're just like a child, spending your money all willy-nilly, going out there buying popsicles, ice cream, buying all the new Jordans, the new stuff that comes out every year. You're living beyond your means, and you wonder why you're always broke. There are some people out there who always wonder, why am I so broke? I have an okay, decent paying job. Why am I so broke all the time? I'm steady stretching myself thin. It's like, well, look at your spending habits. Do you really need this? Do you really need that? Do you really need this? Do you honestly need that? Right? So the thing about accountability is, last but not least, what are some things that you are holding yourself accountable? Right here at the bottom. What are some things that you're holding yourself accountable for? Right? When it comes to finances, are you making sure that you are very conscientious of your spending habits? Are you making sure that you are not just like a child spending your money all willy-nilly, right? To all my parents out there, if you have kids, teach them at the youngest age possible, when they are able to develop work ethic. Teach them independency. Teach them work ethic. Teach them discipline. Teach them to hold themselves accountable when it comes to all of their goals in life, right? Because otherwise the child is growing up and becoming more dependent upon you. You want to build. There was this lady I watch on YouTube. I forget her name, but her mom. That word. Well,